Therapists of Reddit, have you ever been genuinely scared of a patient and why? Welcome to the House of Reddit. Hope you enjoy this video. Therapists of Reddit, have you ever been genuinely scared of a patient and why? The only one I have felt a little scared of was one who threatened to kill me. I knew she meant it. She had already assaulted a number of other staff. She got sent to a higher security ward, and I heard she had broke staff's fingers first day she was there. She held staff and other patients hostage in one of our rooms, threatening them but circling the table as if playing with them first. I see violence and aggression regularly, and it doesn't faze me, but she did. I would purposely avoid eye contact and look straight ahead, avoiding her, and pretend I wasn't intimidated, as that's what she wanted. Went to my university's psych hospital due to suicidal ideation. Was 18 at the time. I was lobbed in with the under 22 group, and there's this fireman in his 20s who I'd learned through the grapevine, other nosy ass patients, was bipolar. No biggie, we all got something wrong in there, right? He was very quiet, decently attractive, and kept to himself even in group sessions. He would always give me this penetrative, unblinking stare all day long. I'm very shy and hadn't spoken 2 words to the guy. Maybe smiled in passing if I made eye contact, which I avoided due to the staring. In the main room, like a living room I guess for a psych ward, we'd all be hanging out and he'd sit across from me with a sketchbook. Honestly, just thought he was passing time. Once you're committed you can't leave unless the doctor says so. Anyways, my mom comes to the hospital to visit me and she noticed the guy staring at me. She walks behind him while he's with his sketchbook and her entire body froze. Like completely locked up, as if you're watching a video and press pause. He had drawn a very detailed picture of me, hanging from the ceiling in the psych ward. She calmly tells the nurse and the guy is removed from the room. Never saw him again. A couple of days later I overheard some nurses saying that the guy had filled the entire sketchbook with different drawings of me dead in different scenarios. Honestly, it was scariest thing I've ever been through. This is part of the reason I'm hesitant to do psychiatry here, even though I love it as a subject. Where I live is a tiny and crowded city. One of the most crowded in the world. Everyone knows each other. And it won't be hard at all to find out where you live. A colleague of mine was once followed while he was riding his bike home after duty. The guy following was a dependent syndrome patient. And was asking him to write him a RX for Valium, in the middle of the road, turning it into a sort of bike chase. Luckily it was all verbal and the doc managed to de-escalate. Depends. The 3 rules of confidentiality, in my state in America, but largely these are the big ones, are that I am to break confidentiality if I believe the patient will seriously hurt or kill themselves, seriously hurt or kill someone else, and if there is active or planned child or elder abuse happening. Before I do anything I usually tell the client what I need to do. I let them know that the laws in the state and my license require me to report whatever it was just said. I tell them who I'm going to be reporting it to and help them process that. Now if the client is severely unstable or I feel unsafe I might not tell them, but that's literally not happened to me because I pride myself on being extremely transparent. Now, as I said in another comment, I can tell the difference between vague comments about not wanting to wake up and language that indicates plans, means, intent. If the patient is a minor I'll usually inform the parents, or if the parents aren't safe I need to make a CPS report. Depending on the situation I call the cops, or there are a few laws that say I need to try to warn the person that was threatened directly if I don't believe cops took me seriously. If there was abuse going on I'd call the appropriate agencies. I would rarely put someone in a psych hold. Like, never. I want people to know that because I feel like a lot of people don't get therapy because they're afraid they're going to get locked up. That's not true unless you are a present danger to yourself or others. You're going to go home. Even if you tell me that you're going to kill yourself, I'm going to continue the session until I feel like you're stable. I'll contract with you for safety and just try to keep you talking. You're an adult and I can't stop you from going home. I also can't stop you from lying, so even if I strongly suspect someone's going to hurt themselves, if they insist they aren't, I can't make a report. I can just do my best to make sure they have the tools needed when they go home for further help. What is something you want to get off your chest but don't have anyone to talk to about it? My dad is going to die this week. And I am not going to be able to get the answers I wanted from him. He is already past the mental capacity to talk about anything. I was at least able to see him today. I told him I loved him. And that he did a good job of raising me. He was able to realize I was there, he had been asking for me, and to tell me that he loves me and is proud. He did make one final dad joke. I asked him what's up? He replied time, and he cracked a big ol' smile and laughed. I love my dad and I miss my dad. He hasn't been my dad for the last 11 years. He had some medical problems that changed his mental capacity, and wasn't who I knew for so many years before this. It's been a long time coming, but it is still so hard to see him waste away. I have an uncle who has a degenerative brain disease. He's mostly gone now. What breaks my heart is his kids never quite knew him. The elder had maybe 5 to 7 years with him before he started spiraling. The younger, never knew his dad before the decline started. He was a flawed man in many respects, but he was an awesome uncle, and I'm pretty sure he would have been a decent dad, if not great. It first seemed like depression, then bipolar, then schizophrenia. We have a family history, and finally this is what it is. He's lost most of his motor control, and on bad days, not oriented to place or time. So, my father passed away 2 years after I cut him out of my life, and the grief I felt was very complicated. He treated me horribly. Almost every phone call ended with me crying, and I was much happier and mentally healthy without him in my life. What I found myself mourning was the loss of the father I would never get to have. Even though I knew he would never change and would always been the mean narcissist who was abusive and nothing was ever his fault. I knew that, but a small part of me, without even realizing it, always hoped that maybe someday things would be different. When he was alive, that hope got to sit silently collecting dust and being ignored because it wasn't real and didn't matter. But when he died, I didn't even get to have the idea of a good father anymore. So I mourned the person he wasn't. The father I should have had and deserved. I didn't mourn him. If every human and company on Earth try their hardest to reduce pollution, use of plastic, and things like that without regards to money, it would be possible to save Earth in a year or so. Sadly, that would never happen because most people have the mentality of, it won't matter if I stopped using plastic because McDonald's still uses plastic and me not using it won't make that much of a difference and would just inconvenience me. Also about violence, humans by nature are a violent carnivorous species, and most people think it's okay to bring someone down for personal gain. If things like neo-Nazis and the KKK still exist in 2020, I don't think there is much hope in the near future for a pure rainbows and sunshine type of world. But that's my a little bit more pessimistic outlook on the matter. I'd love to be wrong. Perhaps when we reach a state where space travel is affordable, so we don't have to continue polluting the Earth, and we have sufficient research to genetically modify ourselves to naturally be more accepting and agreeable with each other, then maybe we can become the optimistic pure race. Other than that, the best thing you can do is look at all the kind and wonderful people out there, however few you may see. There will always be conflict for as long as we are human, and continue to desire things. My thoughts more or less. 6 months ago I broke up with my GF because I was having a hard time processing my emotions while also trying to help her with her emotions. There's a lot more to it, but that's the gist. I should have talked to her about how I felt suffocated, but my family was saying I deserved better and I didn't know what to do. Now here I am, finally able to process my emotions and wishing I had just talked to her about my issues. I miss her and wish for nothing more than to take back what I did. She now wants nothing to do with me. I'm starting back at college in the morning, so part of me thinks it's a good thing because I won't be able to give her much of my time between work and school, but at the same time, I miss the times we had together. It tears me apart every single day and I don't know what to do. I lived the exact same situation 2 years ago, except for the fact that I was the GF who had her heart broken. We were in terrible moments of our lives and he broke up with me without any clear reason. It was awful, but at the end of the day the 5 months we were separated were truly life-changing. I needed to work off my depression that had been cooking since my childhood and I didn't know it at the time, but he had to get his shit together too. When we talked later and told me how he felt, I did wish he would have told me, but now I think he made the right choice because I would have probably insisted that we could go trough it together, and what was a nice relationship once could have turned into something really harmful for both. We got together when we felt that we were in a better mental condition and happier with ourselves. We've been doing pretty good since then. What I learned from that is that there's nothing wrong in trying to take care of ourselves first. You did nothing wrong with that, and that, as cliche as it sounds, good communication is really a key. I don't know if it's possible, but depending on her situation you should try to tell her what happened. She deserves to know it. Not necessarily with the purpose of getting back together, even if that is what you want, but because that probably could have messed up with her own already existent issues. In my case, I started to wonder what did I do wrong, and because I had no further explanation, I ended up believing it was all my fault. Of course, I'm not saying what happened to me could apply directly to her, we're all different after all, but an apology or an explanation can be the first step to heal you both. I'm pretty sure my mom wants me and or my siblings to get the virus. She gives us shit for not feeling comfortable being out in the park even with a mask. She took us across the state to an estranged elderly family member's house, who doesn't believe the virus is real, and tried to get us to leave our masks behind, never wears a mask, tried to tell us we only need to be 2 feet from people, and got pissy with me when I said it's 6 feet, dismisses all the things we point out because we only care about the internet and I work fast food, I know it more than anyone else, and will literally lick us right after she gets home, and constantly complains that she's expected to work and not just scroll Facebook. She's also super transphobic, constantly dead names people and intentionally calls them by wrong pronouns, which is bad enough, but I'm NB, something I didn't even know I was allowed to be until recently because of her. I just never felt right calling myself a girl or a boy, and I had all of my hobbies that weren't inherently girly taken away, except gaming, but she tries hard to get me to stop, so it never crossed my mind I just couldn't be gendered. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please let us know in the comments below. Turn on the notifications to know when we post new videos. Thank you for coming to the House of Reddit.